Hello, Proppers! Welcome back to the shop. Today's project will be from another iconic movie, The Thing by John Carpenter. We'll be creating Mr. Spiderhead, the scariest thing in the movie to me. To create the head, instead of using my usual technique of wrapping a piece of 4mm foam over a head-shaped rock, I'm going to try something different. I'm starting off with a piece of 10mm foam in sort of a oval head shape. I'm going to layer it down several graduations with some 4mm foam on each side of the 10mm foam so I can create a solid piece of EVA foam and carve the entire head out of that. I know I could just as easily start off with one solid block of EVA foam or just several layers of 10mm foam, but this is what I had, and so I got started with it. And having the general shape of the head already set made it much easier to carve. I just purchased this new can of Barge contact cement. I thought it'd be much easier to have a can with the brush as opposed to what I had before. But I see that you'd also have to make sure that you don't put the brush all the way back into the can while you're in the middle of a project, because a lot of the contact cement end up getting pulled up onto the shaft of the brush, which makes it messier than having a brush independent of the lid. With all the layers attached, I use my Dremel tool to smooth out the edges. After marking out the general shape of the head that I want, I use my bandsaw to trim it down. And then back to the Dremel tool to smooth out the cut edges. After establishing the head shape, I mark out the facial features. I started carving with a small rotary bit in my Dremel tool, but the foam was just too soft. I had to go back to the X-Acto knife. Because of the size of the piece, this was a very tedious and arduous process. I used my USB soldering iron to create some of the linear facial details. After the initial carving was done, I gave it one coat of Plasti-Dip. I used foam clay to create additional detailing and to give it depth and dimension. The new foam clay that I'm using dries a lot faster than the old one, so it made it much easier to work with. I use just a dab of water on my fingers to smooth out the foam clay. To fine-tune the details, I utilize a small stick. The eye cavities were dug out just a little too deep, so I added a little foam clay to fill them in. Yes, I know it's looking a little rough at this point, but you know how I work. All will be well in the end. I created a couple of eyes out of foam clay, then set them aside to dry. I utilize a piece of 2mm foam to create the stretched out neck for Spiderhead. After roll forming and shaping the neck, I attach the ends with contact cement. To secure the bond, I cut a thin strip of 2mm foam and attach it to the inside seam of the neck. I attach the initial foam clay detailing to the neck, then set it aside to dry. I also used the foam clay to create the eyeballed antennae. It didn't take long for the foam clay to set on the head, the antennae, as well as the additional foam detailing that I had applied to the neck. The eyes had also dried, so I utilized hot glue to attach them to the head. I'm trying out a new technique for the very small, sharp teeth. Utilizing hot glue, I make very thin slivers on a piece of cardboard. In hindsight, I could have saved the step by spray painting them white at this point, but since I didn't, I cut them out individually and I'll paint them a little later. In the future, I'll probably use a piece of plastic instead of cardboard. That'll make the removal process a little easier also. I decided to get started on Spiderhead's legs. For that, I'll be using strips of Romex wiring. The individual wires will be used after the insulation is removed. To attach the teeth to the mouth, slots are cut out in the inside of the upper and bottom lips. After dry fitting the teeth, I attach them permanently with tube epoxy. This was not an easy task because of the shape and size of the teeth. Some of the leftover epoxy was used to create a gum line. The neck was then attached to the head with hot glue. At this point in the project, it's still very rough, but I'm extremely happy about the way things are coming together. The eyeballed antennae was also attached to the head with hot glue, and then all the additional foam details were added to the neck. After trimming the neck down to its final size, I get started on the legs. For that, I'll be hot gluing the pieces of Romex wiring inside 1/8" plastic refrigerator tubing. This will allow me to bend the legs into a stable shape. My initial thought was to apply foam clay directly to the wiring, as you can see on the cardboard above, but that idea was quickly scrapped. I mapped out the position of all the legs on the head before temporarily attaching them with crazy glue. Then I sealed them in with tube epoxy. All the legs had to be cut individually to ensure the proper sizing. Some of the leftover epoxy was used to smooth out the facial details. With the head completed, I used a hole punch to create spaces for the eyeballs in the antennae. For the eyeballs, I cut out small rubber dowels from a piece I found in my drawer of misfit parts. One of the reasons that I'm reluctant to throw away seemingly useless parts. After installing the eyeballs in the antennae, I skinned the legs with foam clay. When the foam was set, I used my Dremel tool to sand it down. I also fine-tuned some of the facial details with the Dremel tool as well as my USB soldering iron. For the hair on the head as well as the legs, I'm going to try using some moss. After giving it a light coloring, I give a base coat of Plasti Dip to the spider itself. For the head hair, I'm going to create a wig using my tried and true technique of a head-shaped rock wrapped in cellophane. I use spray adhesive on the cellophane and tightly pack on the moss. I air dry as well as use my heat gun to set the spray adhesive. I give Spider Head a coating of heirloom white to keep the black Plasti Dip from bleeding through the final colors. With 3 different boxes of paint, I have nothing close to the final flesh tone color that I really want. I'll be mixing colors on the fly, so at this point you can ignore my painting process and just do it the way you like it. Of course, the teeth and all the eyeballs will be painted white. With just a slight red glow on the lips and gum line. I'll be using the same spray adhesive to attach the moss to the legs. I clean up some of the details with my USB soldering iron before finishing the painting of the eyeballs. The crevice details are darkened for contrast. For the finer paint lines, I use the tip of a needle. Here's my shabby failed attempt to create veins inside the neck. After cutting the wig off the head rock and shaping it to size, I attach it to the head with hot glue. Just a little bit of rhinoplasty to finish off the job. And with that, Spiderhead is complete. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, press that like button, as well as the bell notification so you'll be notified when future videos are uploaded.